Hello everyone, I'm Rebel Glam and this is my holiday special. You know, at this time of the year, everyone is celebrating something, and if you're not, you're just grateful for life and thankful to be seeing another year coming up upon you. And you know, the years pass so fast these days, so I hope you had a good year, a great 2014. I definitely did. And remember that when you do have challenges, it's just a chance for you to kind of obliterate them and tell your story. This is a special meal that I'm going to be preparing for you, and it's all based on ideas. You know, sometimes you want to cook something, you're not sure what you want to cook, you try to get creative, you make a mistake, but that's where chefs come in, and I hope that my show will help you just to get some ideas for your Christmas cooking or for your New Year's dish, whatever you're deciding to do at this time of the year. I'm going to be using some of the items that I picked up at the wonderful Holders Farmers Market. I actually interviewed a couple people and it was really fun. I've got some pesto here. Now, if you don't know how to make pesto, this is the perfect thing to buy from Natasha. Her business is called Nature's Oils, and I'm a big fan of her, and you won't hear me say that about a lot of products because I'm very picky when it comes to things that can be homemade. But she really makes a great homemade pesto, and I think this is one of those things that can cut your time during the holiday season while still serving that quality and that home cooked flavor that you want to bring to every single meal. I also have some sorrel wine from Shalana's, and my friend Simone is the person that I got this wine from. What you're going to find about Shalana's is that they have so many different types of wine to choose from that you might even watch the show, go deciding to buy a sorrel wine and end up buying 3 or 4 different types of wine because they have so many. But you'll see some clips of that later on. I've also got a really beautiful baby leaf salad mix. I've got this from a lady called Zonia at the market. She's basically an organic farmer, but she does a lot more than that. You'll see that later on. And this salad has in baby romaine, it's got in some rocket, it's got all sorts of leaves, I can't remember the name, it has in lace lettuce, and it's just really nice because it's fresh. The leaves are the little small leaves, so they just need to be lightly dressed. And I'm going to be making a beautiful salad for you today because I want us to get away from just the same thing that we cook every single year. You know, every wedding, every special occasion, sometimes we fall back on the same items, and this is a way to just let you think a little bit more, get a little bit creative. And you don't have to do this, but I'm sure that this recipe is going to give you some great ideas. So let's get started. First of all, we have the baby leaves. They've been washed. Put them one side. And this salad is going to be with caramelized apple and beet. But if you didn't want to use apple, you could use pear, you could use golden apple. As long as you have a firm fruit that can be caramelized, you can even use pineapple and it would work. But I'm going to be making a pesto dressing, so I find that the basil and the apple combination work well together. What you can do if you're making your own pesto, which this one doesn't have any cheese, is basically basil, you have a little bit of garlic in there, some olive oil. I think Natasha, on hers, it says it also has parsley and almonds. And I know traditional pesto uses pine nuts, but it just goes to show that you can be very creative, put your own spin on it, use a different nut and whatnot. And then once you've done that, pair it with something slightly sweet. So I'm using beets, which are sweet, and I'm also using the apple, which is sweet. To get started, I have an empty bowl. I'm going to add, it's about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of lime juice, some olive oil, and last but not least, my pesto. Pesto already has an olive oil, but for the purpose of the dressing, we want to make it a little bit more fluid, and we're just putting that lemon in it to make it a little bit bright. So put 2 large heaping tablespoons in the bowl. I'm just going to get my whisk and whisk it up. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. It does make a difference using the fresh one. It's a little bit stronger and has a little bit of a bite to it. I like to use it a little bit coarse. You can make it finer if you don't want to have that bite. A little sprinkle of salt, just because since we added the olive oil and the lime, those wouldn't have been seasoned. I'm just going to whisk that together. Basically, the dressing is finished. So now onto the rest of the salad. I've got a beet here. My key to using beets is not to peel the whole thing if I'm not going to use the whole thing. If I'm not going to use the whole thing, I leave the peel on to the point where I'm not going to use, and then I wrap it up and put it back in the refrigerator. I find that this keeps the beets fresher for a longer time. We've got the grater on the coarse side. We've grated about half of this beet. To just rest this one side, I'll give my fingers a rinse. And in other news, we'll get started on our caramelized apples. I know we're accustomed to turkey and ham for Christmas. I'm not saying leave out the turkey and ham, but there's another thing that I see selling a lot at Christmas time, even though I often go places and don't see it being served. So I have a question. Is everyone secretly serving duck? We're going to be doing a duck breast with the sorrel wine. It's going to be lovely. And the reduction I'm going to make with the wine is something you can use to glaze your ham with, all sorts of things. But I'm just getting ahead of myself because I'm excited. So I'm going to deal with my apple next. I've got a small pan. What I'll do is I'll just put my butter in the pan. That's a lot of butter. I'll use half of that. And we've got an apple. Keep the skin on. There's no need to take it off. If you want to, you could take it off, but you don't need to. Just get a little, squeeze a little space on my board here. Cut the core out. And from there, we're gonna just cut the apple into some strips, just like normal apple strips. Rest it in my little pot. Now, beets are one of those vegetables that some people like them and some people don't like them. But I find that oftentimes when we say we don't like things, we don't like them prepared one way or the way we're accustomed to preparing them. We have not really given the ingredient a chance to shine in a different light to see if we might like it in a different way. And this is one chance that you're going to get to try beets a different way, to get your children eating beets, to get older people eating beets. Beets are extremely good because they have collagen in them. And collagen is one of those things that's harder to find in foods, but it really, really helps with your skin and how you look overall. And I know us ladies, we like to look a certain way, so it's something that we often buy a lot of products that contain collagen, for instance, lotions and creams for our skin. So this is some natural collagen here, so even if you don't like beets, consider them. Okay, I've got my apples all sliced up. And basically, what I'm gonna do is forget about these apples on the stove for a couple minutes. So I'm just gonna turn my stove on and leave them alone. By the way, when I went to use my stove earlier, I realized we have a main switch that we turn off and on before you can turn on the stove. All of the knobs were on. So when you have little kids, sometimes it's important to make sure you turn off that main switch because you just never know what they're going to get themselves into. Hard ears, I tell you, very hard ears. I'll clear up my board and I'm going to start assembling my salad because the apple will be the last to go on. And for a salad like this is something that you might want to assemble right before you serve it. What I would suggest is not dressing the salad, putting the dressing next to the salad. If you're serving this for a group of people, what you would do is put everything side by side, not all together, just so people would understand. Put this with that. And you can even do little cute place cards for Christmas, just handwritten. It can be like with a little gold ink or silver ink, and you just fold a piece of card and you can write on it, you know, and you can say mixed leaf salad with basil dressing, or you know, and you can also say caramelized apple and beet. You know, make it fancy if you want, or keep it simple, because sometimes people hear too much and say, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. But it's just a cute way to serve it, because usually in fine dining you would serve this, you would mix it together right away, right before you serve it, and you don't want to mix it ahead of time and then let the dressing wilt the salad. Alright, so we're just gonna throw in our pesto dressing. And I didn't use all, as you can see I've got just a little bit left. And what I'm going to do with this little bit that I've got left is take my beets. and throw them in it. You're gonna toss the beets in this so that the flavor of the dressing becomes part of the beets, so they're not just beets. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to season every element of a dish, but this is the most important part in making sure that something is delicious through and through, and not like, okay, I like the lettuce but I don't like beets, so I don't like the beets. When you put this dressing on them, you've transformed the beet and it's no longer what it was before. And the good thing about it is it still keeps the beautiful color, beautiful rich burgundy, and it's such a festive color. So for people who want their food to look festive as well, it's the perfect idea. Coming up a little bit later on, I'll tell you more about it soon. I've got something awesome, and it's gotten minced fruit. So when you make the great cake, if you have any fruit left back, you don't have to store it for 7 years, darling, because I have something for you to do with it. I've got an onion here. I'm going to be adding this to my salad as well. I find something that people don't understand about onions is that onions create a level of freshness that you might not realize in salads. And what I'm doing with this little small onion that I have is I'm going to be using it 2 ways. In my caramelized apple for a sweet onion, because as soon as you put the onion on the stove, it starts to get sweeter. We could caramelize the onions for this salad too, but that would be too time consuming and not necessary because we have other sweet elements. So we're just gonna saute them. And the other thing that we're gonna do is put it inside the leaves itself just to create a little bit of a crunch and a little bit of a freshness. Put this over here. So with the onion, you're just gonna cut them in a julienne. You could also cut them in brunoise, which is a very fine dice. If you don't like the taste of onion or the bite of onion in the salad, especially for the raw one, you can cut it in a brunoise. A brunoise is like when you turn the julienne on one side and cut it really fine like that. So now, because I'm showing you that little trick, my onion will have both brunoise. My salad will have both brunoise and julienne onions in it. And just with the hand, you just want to squeeze them up a little bit so that they break apart. I'm sorry you're not here, you can't smell the apple. Now the thing is, usually when I do something like caramelized apples, I add that cinnamon to it. But here we have nuts inside of the pesto, we have that basil, so we're going for a different sort of thing here. It's still gonna have that spiciness, but more of a herby spiciness to it, because basil for a herb has a lot of spiciness to it, in my opinion. The apples smell lovely. You want to get that color on them, and the butter is going to give you that color. If you were to use oil, you would not get the same color that you get so quickly with using butter. As the butter starts to burn, it will burn the sugar in the apples and give you the coloring that you're looking for. And as soon as you start to get color in some of your apples, you're almost ready to turn off. So what I'll do now is I'll just, oops, the one that got away. This is an electric stove, so I'll just turn it off. But what we would do with a gas stove is just turn on the stove very low and leave it just enough time for your onions to cook through a little bit more. Meanwhile, in the big bowl, we're gonna toss our salad. Yes, I was talking a lot, but my leaves didn't melt because I threw most of my dressing into the middle until I was ready. That's another trick that you will see a lot of chefs do, is put the salad dressing underneath the salad and then mix the salad together as soon as they're ready to use it. This is so lovely and fresh. I'm excited about this just because of how fresh it is. Knowing that the ingredients are so wholesome and good for you really makes you excited about cooking and excited about eating. And now, in order to plate my dish, I've got my apples with my little bit of onion in there. I'm using a black plate, but as I said, if you were serving it, you can serve it just like this in the bowl and put the beets on the side all around or in the middle, whatever you choose, but just not all together so that it doesn't wilt too quickly. And we're just gonna pile this up on the plate. This is health and this is deliciousness right here. My friend Zonia from the market, she said to me when I make the salad, I said, maybe I might add some nuts to it, which I decided not to because I want the almonds inside of the pesto to shine a little bit. She said, okay, well, make sure that when you add nuts, you add some seeds as well because seeds are good for you. So that's another thing you can think of to add texture to your salad. Not just croutons, but something like seeds, which is actually good for you. On the top, I'm going to get a scoop full of my beets. And then I'm going to add my caramelized apple. And these are warm. This is one of those things that you would have to serve this salad right away, how I'm doing it, serving it warm. But you could also just let your apples cool down a couple seconds and then add them to the dish. The sweetness from the apples adds a different dimension altogether. Let me pick this one up. So you're really getting the benefits of a savory type dressing plus the benefits of a sweet type dressing just by using the apples and the beets. And there you have it, dish one, dedicated to or ode to Holder's Market. This is my mixed leaf salad with beets and caramelized apples. Okay, so we're back. I've made my salad, my fresh Holder's Market salad, and now I'm on to my main course. Now, of course, in Christmas time, Caribbean people, we like to have lots of different dishes going on. But this one, suppose you want to do something a little bit special, you know, you want to have a one-on-one, you can do this as a dish for someone special, or you can do this dish in bulk and then end up serving it to everybody. Behind me, I put on some water to boil. I've got some sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes to me always spell celebration, and I really love sweet potatoes. I actually think that sweet potatoes are my second runner-up after cupcakes, and for not savory but for main course rather than dessert, I think sweet potatoes are my favorite. So I'm going to be doing some sweet potatoes here today. I do all kinds of sweet potatoes, and I'm definitely going to write a sweet potato book. You know, I can't give away all my secrets, but this sweet potato that I'm doing today, I know you haven't seen someone do it before, and they are going to be awesome. Just cutting around the sides of the sweet potato, straight down. And what you want to do is cut them into small pieces to save time. You take a couple seconds, you cut it smaller, you end up cooking for way less time. Just throw these in there. I'll put this to the side. And the reason for cutting around like this, you can tell exactly how much skin you want to get off, because there's a part right underneath the skin that sometimes can be a little bit thick. So we get rid of the thick part, but don't cut off all the sweet potato in the process. Throw this in there. And these don't have to be even pieces, they just need to be around the same size and not be too big. These are gonna cook very quickly. You know, I can't believe another year is over already. I hope that you've done what you can to follow your dreams in 2014. You know, you have to remember that the time is now. Just the other day I was doing my New Year's show and my pilot for my first show. You know, time flies and all of a sudden you're doing a whole bunch of new stuff. And that's what's happened with me. I'm going to be doing some new projects throughout the Caribbean. And all you Rebel Glam fans out there, I hope you stay in touch. I've also been working on some music projects, which I think are, that's the right word, mujiks. Mujiks means a project with music, right? And fujiks is a food project. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing some mujiks and fujiks soon, and I'm very excited about them, so you guys can stay in touch. If I don't post it online, then I'll tell you which channel it will be on. I've got my old show Rebel Glam's Kitchen on Trident 10 right now, so I hope you guys are watching that. And there's a whole bunch of new Rebel Glam projects coming up. Okay, so I'm just gonna borrow my baking dish because this is actually what I'm gonna be baking my duck in. This duck is not gonna take long at all to bake. We're gonna do it to a medium well. You know, you can do it well done, but you have to be careful with it. You don't want it to dry out. And especially if you're putting it on a buffet or something, you can do it almost well and then just leave it. Instead of drying out, it will be just perfect when you're ready to serve it. So I've got some water over here. I'm just gonna throw my sweet potatoes into it. I'm a bit messy. How exciting. I'll tell you the ingredients that I have here for my duck. I'll put this away, this is secret. I've got some fennel. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this on, so I'll just put it on while I'm talking because the fennel is just random. And that's because it's a little bit of a sweet spice. It has that sausagey flavor. I was going to go with a duck which I would use with a pork product, but I decided to leave it as poultry and let you guys try it this way. But of course, if you wanted, you could wrap this with bacon or any other creative idea to do with meat, and other meat usually works out pretty well. I've got some sesame seeds. Take these as well and throw them on. I'm going to be manhandling the duck, and what will happen is that these products that I'm talking about, they'll just kind of get rubbed in the meantime. I've got some Chinese 5 spice. I've got some brown sugar, some salt, and some butter. So the main things I'm seasoning with are fennel, the sesame seeds, and the fennel will give us a different texture going on. I've also got that 5 spice, the black pepper, and the salt. And the special sauce is going to be made with sorrel wine. If you do not have the sorrel wine, I suggest you purchase some. If you can't do that, you can use the actual sorrel and mix it with a little bit of alcohol to get that wine feeling. You can use some normal wine with just a little bit of sorrel. And if sorrel is not a product that you're accustomed to using, or a product that you don't have access to, you still have lots of options. What would be nice would be a dry sherry, would work very well with just a little bit of sugar, or even vodka could work. And you can also add one of your favorite fruit juices to that vodka, say mango, or I think mango is nice. Maybe even pineapple juice would work here. So, right, before I put that on, what I'm doing is I'm going to lift up the skin a little bit. I had mentioned about lifting up the skin before. Just using the tip of the knife to lift up the skin. And that also works not only to melt the skin, but to melt the fat in the skin, but to make sure that you get to season very well. And you know, we in the Caribbean, we like to season things well. So we're going to be seasoning this extremely well. On the other side here, my duck breast. I'm just opening him up a little bit. You know, he might be a little bit scared of me, but I'm going to be kind and everything's going to work out. Just open that up a little bit. Here we go. Make sure to get that salt and pepper inside of the breast. Try not to get my dirty fingers on my pepper. This is something you could make spicy if you wanted, as in hot spicy and not spicy, because it's already spicy. And then we'll get some of the 5 spice inside as well. Then we're going to close them up, get that 5 spice on the outside. Some salt on the outside. A little bit of brown sugar. This is going to create a little bit more caramel color, which is always lovely. And you want to get the color fast because we are going to rest these duck breasts in the oven for maybe about 20 minutes on high. So because of that, you want it to get color quickly. And just a little bit more of our pepper. The key to this is to be loving. Massage your duck breasts. Get some of the stuff from the top and the middle into the bottom. Massage it all in. And then some of these sesame seeds and whatnot, get them in. I'll just put a little bit on the outside as well when I'm finished. And I'll just rest this in my dish for one moment. Meanwhile, my potatoes are bubbling away. The plan is that as soon as I'm finished element duck, I'll be on to element potato, and I'll let you know what goes on when I do that. I'm just gonna warm my pan up. I'll add my butter to it so I'll know when it's warm, when my butter has melted. Get all that goodness in there because it's butter. And remember, with spices, you're getting that sweet flavor. Suppose you didn't have 5 spice, you might want to try using clove or another sweet spice. In Jamaica, they use the allspice a lot, pimento. We use it in other places too, but my family's Jamaican, so I think of Jamaica first. And with that pimento feeling, you're almost going to get a slightly jerk flavor going on, but not quite jerk because you have that sorrel sweetness going on. I think that's perfect too. And also this sorrel sauce that we're gonna make is gonna be perfect for jerk. But this sauce is not really too difficult. It's just basically a reduction of sorrel wine with a bit of sugar. Reason being, we're creating like almost like a syrup, but instead of a syrup made with sorrel, it's made with sorrel wine. So it has its own flavor. And this syrup can be used to glaze ham. It can be used next to turkey instead of cranberry sauce. It can be used throughout your holiday season and beyond. You can do it with duck. You can do it with pork. I would even say that you could do it with fish, but if I was doing it with fish, I would leave out some of the sugar and make it a little bit lighter, or I would serve the fish with something sweet like my favorite sweet potatoes and put the sauce next to that as well. Okay, we're bubbling now. Before the butter starts to burn, we're going to put our duck in and let it cook up. Basically what we're trying to do here is to crisp up the skin. But we're going to let it cook a little bit in the meantime while that's going on. And at this point you could also preheat your oven so that when you put your duck into the oven, it will be hot. We'll be using our oven for more than one thing today. If I was not making my special bread pudding at the end, I would not bother to do this dish in the oven. I would just do it in the pan, add a little bit of stock to it and let it finish cooking. But because I'm baking anyway, it's all about using the energy in a smart way. We're gonna put it in the oven for a little short period of time. Okay, so back to the dish we had at first. We've got that lovely color. It would be lighter if I hadn't put the brown sugar, but that's the color that I was going for. A little bit of darkness, caramelization. And I'm gonna pour back this butter directly on top of our duck. This is also now mixed with the duck fat. So it's full of flavor. And outside of being full of the flavor, it's full of moisture. Nice boil. Wrap up my duck breast. So that it doesn't lose too much of the moisture. And we're gonna put it in the oven at about 200 degrees for about 15 minutes. Okay, so we've taken our sweet potatoes out of the pot. They're finished. And I'm gonna be mashing these in just 1 second with a special ingredient. But in the meantime, in the same pan that we had the duck breast in, I'm just gonna be deglazing the pan with this sorrel wine. When it starts to bubble up a little bit, I'll add some sugar to it. And we'll get the party started. I'm sorry you guys aren't here so you can smell this. Wine has something special about it, man. Anyway, so on to my special sweet potatoes. Listen, we are making Bailey's sweet potatoes today. You don't have to be Bailey's. You can use Caroline's, you can use a rum cream, use what you have. But I'm telling you, I'm making Bailey's sweet potatoes today. So I've got some Bailey's here. Cameraman smiling at me, you know. And what I'm gonna do is just dash some of it inside my bowl. A little bit of salt. Some good old brown sugar. And then you remember the flavors that we were using before, the Chinese 5 spice, so I'll add a little bit of that just to tie it all back in together. And last but not least, some real vanilla extract. Now I'm going to get to mashing. You could also do this in a mixer, but I wanted to do it by hand because I'm just making a little bit portion for two. I'm going to mash these potatoes. I'm going to put some butter on it to finish it, but not yet. Behind me I can smell my wine. I'm so excited about these sweet potatoes. Just now you can say, she Rebel, all she like to do is cook sweet potatoes, and I can say, well, and keep cooking them because I really love sweet potatoes. And sweet potatoes are so good for you. They're high fiber. They're one of those foods that takes a little bit longer to break down then, so they don't turn into fat so quickly in the body. A lot of people that go on diets and are eating sweet potatoes, and of course they don't have Baileys in them, but I'm just saying, you know, if you see somebody do rum and raisin sweet potatoes, I inspired them. If you see them do pina colada, I've done it already. I do orange, you can do Grand Marnier, you can do all types of sweet potato. And basically, I think I'm pretty much finished mashing it. But the thing about sweet potatoes, they soak up liquid. So even though this is a good consistency right now, I'm gonna make this just a little bit wetter than what it actually is. Of course, to wet it, you have to use the Baileys. You can't add any water or any milk or anything like that. This has cream in it that hasn't fat. This has our milk in it already. We're not bothered with any milk or anything like that today. We want that little alcohol flavor. It's something festive. It's something delicious. And you know what? It's something ain't nobody else got at their party. Except no, because people might go and get the idea. But I'm sure still, this is an expensive idea, so you can be the talk of the town with your Bailey sweet potatoes. And I'm just gonna taste it for salt, and I'm not gonna put any pepper in this one. Meanwhile, bubbling away behind me is my wine. Alcohol leaves faster than water does. So I'm just gonna put the rest of my brown sugar. You know, this is something that I'm playing a little bit by ear or by eye. I'm eyeballing a little to create this sorrel syrup. I'm gonna add some of my same vanilla. Just a couple drops because this is the extract, so it will be strong. Some of my same 5 spice. And to round it off, just a little bit of salt. Salt is important. Salt enhances flavors. And I'm playing it by ear too, because I'm listening to how it's bubbling to tell when to stop with it. When I finish my sweet potatoes, I'm gonna get a little spatula and put them in a bowl. This is a good idea. This is a good idea that nobody's going to do before you, if you hurry and do it for your Christmas food. Trust me, Bailey sweet potato. What I'm going to do with my sweet potatoes is put them in a bowl. I'm going to put these one side and cover them. And then again, that little alcohol in the background, right? And everybody knows I can't drink, so if I start singing Drunken Love or something weird, just forgive me. And I like to pour my Baileys over it, not too much. But as I said, the sweet potato is going to start to dry out. And while it's drying out, it will actually be soaking in more of that Baileys flavor. The other thing I'm going to do is finish with just a little bit of butter. And this is a recipe for life as well. Don't mind that this is fattening. This is number 1, sweet potato, which is good for you. And number 2, something that you need to do to make yourself feel sweet sometimes. Sometimes you gotta make yourself feel good. I'm putting a big lump of butter on some warm Bailey sweet potatoes. I think it's very awesome. Another thing you could do with these sweet potatoes, if you have any of your apples left back that you would have used to caramelize for your salad, you can serve them with the Bailey sweet potatoes. And we're just gonna turn off our sorrel sauce. You can see by the type of bubbles that it's got nice and thick, or you can test it with a spoon if you need to. And I'm just gonna switch burners. And what we're gonna do before we serve that is just strain it. And if it's a bit too thick, you add just a little bit of wine to thin it back out. But that is finished. So we're on our way to dessert, and I'm very excited about it. Up next, we're going to be making a mixed fruit. What do you call those fruits? The rum soaked Bailey's fruits. The fruits that haven't all the alcohol for the whole year and whatever left back, and you drop in some. And yes, those mixed fruits, we're going to make them into a bread pudding. So if you have any left back, no need to put them in the cupboard again. We're going to use them right now. See you in a minute. Okay, so on to our final thing. I'm excited about this, and you should be too. We often make great cake, but we don't make great cake with a recipe. So we go and we buy all these fruits, we soak all these fruits, and you never know just how much you're going to end up using. So oftentimes we have leftover fruit. I'm going to be making a bread pudding with it. Different dish, same festive feeling, using those fruits, grandma recipe, whatever you want. I've got some eggs here because I'm going to start to make my custard. Now I checked my duck. My duck was about medium rare, so I'm going to let it go until it gets to be about medium well. You can check your duck. You can give it a slight little stick in the middle, and if you see the juices still running, red, raw, pink, medium, clear, well done. You don't want it to overcook, so you do need to check it. So I've had 3 eggs in here. I've got a little bit over a half cup of evaporated milk. Reason why I like to use evaporated milk, you can use cream too if you wanted, but I know evaporated milk is something most of us have in our refrigerator or in the cupboard somewhere waiting to be used. But the reason why is because now I can add water as I watch my pudding and decide the consistency that I want. And it's still not going to be watery because the milk was thick. Now I have some vanilla. Vanilla is always a good flavor. A little bit of salt. You need that salt just to balance out dessert. Sometimes a dessert you think it tastes good till you have one that has salt, the same recipe. You say, oh, this one is so much stronger, this has so much more flavor. Just a salt, just enhancing it. It's not a lot, just a couple pinches. What I am going to put a good set of is some cinnamon. That's about a tablespoon of cinnamon that I'm putting in there. I've got some baking soda. I'm going to put about a teaspoon. Mix this all together. And I've purposely decided, rather than using lovely white bread that looks so great that we went and bought in the supermarket for our Rebel Glam recipe, no. This is a time of year where you make lots of sandwiches, and all these sandwiches have the ends, so you cut off all the ends. You have to make sure though that you don't spread, especially if it's tuna, don't spread it all the way to the ends that you're gonna cut off, because you don't want that flavor in your bread pudding. But you can use bread ends to do more than just feed the birds. So we're gonna drop those into our custard. Some lovely white bread ends. This bowl is 1.5 liters, so you can gauge it by that. But what I would say is about 4 big handfuls of this, because you know how it is with me, I cook very creatively. So I usually end up formulating my recipes actually after you've watched the show. We're just gonna break down these bread ends. Into the bowl and break them down. This could also be done with your mixer. The smell of the duck really got me good here though. The smell of the duck really serious. Then that spice smells so lovely, man. So we're gonna have 2 lovely smells coming from the oven. Of course, we could bake this as a whole bread pudding, and we can use gas to do that, and we can take time to do that. But you know, Rebel Glam is a queen in general, but of course a cupcake queen. So I've got my little trusty cupcake molds here. And as you can see what I was saying about it getting thick and then you might want to add water. I've just been mixing this by hand a little bit and you see the consistency has changed. Now you could have added your sugar to your custard. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let the sugar be my last ingredient, simply because with these mixed fruits, everyone does their mixed fruits differently. This is about 2 cups of mixed fruit in here. You could put anywhere between 1 to 2 cups. You could even put 3 cups and make it more like a great cake put in for real, where it's mostly still great cake, but rather than doing it with flour, you did it with bread. And you want to taste this first, because depending on how sweet the fruit are, then you would eyeball the sugar. I figure it would not take more than a cup of sugar. So that's about the amount I have in my bowl next door waiting on me. And the thing about not doing this with the mixer is to create a little bit more texture. If you do it with the mixer, you're gonna get a really smooth bread pudding. I'm really excited about that duck, it's calling me. Okay, so I'm gonna add a half cup of water. I'll put half a cup for starters. This is another thing similar to our sweet potatoes that likes to soak up liquid. And because it's in a cupcake mold, you do want to make sure that it's a little bit wet because you don't want it to dry out. The other thing you should remember about this dish is that if you wanted to cook it in a large portion all together like a cake, or a whole bread pudding I should say, then you would need to lower the oven just a little bit. But I'm gonna leave the oven at the 200 degrees Celsius it is for the duck to do this, and put this on the top rack just because it's in a small amount. All right, let me get a little spoon and just see how sweet it is. It's already fairly sweet. I'm gonna add about 3/4 cups of sugar instead of the full cup. Make it a little bit wetter, because as I said, you wouldn't have to do this if it wasn't cupcakes. The consistency it was at would be good. We want to be a little bit wet, just so that by the time the outside and the middle are cooked, it's not dry. If you do find that you make these and they're a little bit dry because you might have miscalculated with your time, you can always throw some rum on it or some Baileys, you know. That's how we're moving this year. I'm just gonna put those in our cupcake molds. And remember, I put a little bit of baking powder in this, so it's gonna have a little bit of lightness to it, which means I should take out just a little bit in case it rises. Awesome. Good way to use that fruit, good way to use that bread. And I'm gonna throw these in the oven with the duck. Okay, so I've taken my great cake bread pudding out of the oven, and I've decorated one just with a simple rose pattern, one of my signature patterns. I love to do cupcakes with rose pattern. I've done it, if you can look carefully, you will see it's almost 2 colors because I've got a vanilla frosting and a Bailey's frosting, and I've just garnished it with half a cherry cut like a tomato rose with a little dollop of lemon peel there just to make it cutesy. Looks like a little girl with a flower in her hair if you ask me. And as you can see, when you're finished your bread pudding, you want it to still be just a little bit soft because you don't want it to be all dried out. But if you do dry it out, remember there's always Baileys that you can just throw on it. There's always some rum. You can do a little bit of milk even and make a sauce with a little bit of rum and make a syrup and just put with your bread pudding. However, once you take it out at the right time, it's just perfect. So here we have it, and we're on to our duck. I'm gonna take that out of the oven, and then we are finished our special festive meal. Okay, I've taken my duck breasts out of the oven, and I've let them rest. I'm just gonna be cutting it. Cutting it on a diagonal. With a knife with a serrated edge. Got that beautiful color there going on the skin. Oh. There we go. I've got my sauce and I've got my sweet potatoes. First with my sweet potatoes, I'm going to make a huge canal. This is just basically a shape. What I'm going to do is get some of the butter in there while I form this shape with 2 large spoons. Put that in the middle of the plate. I'm going to slide my knife underneath my duck. Rest it across the sweet potatoes. Doesn't it look lovely? Then I'm going to put my sorrel sauce straight down on my duck. To garnish, I'm going to be using some of the salad that we made earlier. Just a little bit of it because just a little bit of it because I kind of made the meal, I staggered the meal so that all of the items can go together. So we just have our mixed leaves here. A little bit of our beets. Add in that little color as well to the dish. And last but not least, the apples. Now if you're a person that really loves sweet, you could have put sugar to make caramelized apples, but the truth is that we have so many different elements in the dish that are a bit sweet, so that would be, to me, a little bit over the top. And there you have it, my duck breast, which I've done with a sorrel wine glaze, and it's served with Bailey's sweet potatoes and our market fresh salad. I hope you guys enjoy the holidays. You can look out for more from me. I'll be doing some stuff in a neighboring isle, Dominica, which I will put online, and I'll let you know what stations you can watch it on. And I hope that in the meantime that you're having a good time and that you're remembering the most important thing is definitely love and getting together and being with those that we care about. You take care.